Ho, ho, and welcome to another episode of Every Horror Movie on Netflix. I'm Patrick.
I'm Chris.
I'm Steven. God, fuck that Santa Claus bullshit.
I'm actually the Santa Claus that comes down the chimney and murders people in Creep Show, so fuck you.
Okay. I like that Santa. I like the same Santa from the Tales from the Crypt movie.
Do you like Santa in A Christmas Horror Story?
You mean
Oh, yes,
Goldberg?
I'm sorry, not Santa in Creep Show. I meant Tales from the Crypt.
Okay, yeah, that was not
My
a segment
bad.
in Creep Show. Fuck me. I have 2 Creep Show posters in my apartment, and I can't even get that right. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays. It's another beautiful year-end Amon episode. This was a little tradition we started last year where we kind of threw the regular conceit of watching a Netflix horror movie out the window and said, hey, let's do what everybody else does and kind of
We threw it in the fireplace and we burned it.
We burned that shit.
Right next to the goddamn Christmas tree. And then I threw that in too because I hate Christmas.
Wow. What a grump. I feel like we should explore that later, but
I think we will.
yeah, but it's the most cozy time of the year for our little podcast. We got the Christmas lights up, we got the fire lit, we got the slippers on, we got the eggnog, we got the CBD, we got the gifts under the tree, we got the stockings filled, we got the cookies by the fireplace.
You know what's
But most importantly, we have a cup of Old Lang Syne.
We got a couple of Old Lang Syne.
Because if you listen to last year's episode, you would know that is a drink. And this year, we actually came up with a recipe for it. We're all drinking it right now.
Yep,
We decided to mix each of our favorite drinks. So we mix mine, which is Jack Daniels, Steven's, which is...
This is a nouveau. It's a red wine.
Wine, you
And
know,
Kickstart.
fancy boy.
Mountain Dew Kickstart.
and Puffy Monkey Baby.
Yeah.
And we'll see if we actually manage to make it through this episode without anyone having a medical condition. Anyways, the whole purpose of the year-end episode is we go back over the year, we review some of our favorite things. We're going to hand out awards in various categories, and we have statues here. Like we carved them by
award
hand
season has started.
out of wood and styrofoam.
Yeah, because it's award season.
Because it's award season.
This is the time of year when all of the pretentious film snobs get together and talk about what was good and important in cinema.
And the horror community is on the edge of their seats, waiting for us to name the best, the worst, the things that most represent the spirit of Jay. But before we get to that, we reached out to a dear friend of the podcast. And really, like, if we're talking about high points, great moments in the year 2019 for this cast and horror in general, it was when we interviewed Neville Archambault, who plays Gerald in 13 Cameras.
And 14 cameras.
And 14
Don't forget
cameras.
14.
You know, 13 cameras, we were fascinated by Gerald. We talked about him so much, and we happened to make a personal connection with him. We had an amazing interview with him. We learned a lot about him. He was a terrific guy. And so we reached out to him as a friend of the podcast and said, Neville, because we also kind of think of him as Gerald.
He responded to you as Gerald, though.
He did. He sent this video and he signed it Gerald. So I think we can call him
He's
Gerald.
just lost in the role. He's method acting.
He's method, yeah. And I said,
He's the method man.
Neville, do you have any thoughts you want to share with us for the new year? Any greetings? And perhaps, because we know he doesn't really watch horror, so he may not have awards to give out, but we said, is there like a horror-related story that happened to you this year that you'd like to share?
And he sent us some tidings.
Yes.
Hey, it's your lovable Gerald from 1314 Cameras, and I just wanted to say hey to Chris, Steve, and Pat. They're at every horror film on Netflix, and I just wanted to thank you for this year doing the video with me. It was really great. It got a lot of great response, and really enjoy the fans that have contacted me. And I just want to wish you guys a really happy holiday, and everyone, all your fans, all your people at every horror flick. And that's it. Got a little story from when I was in Mexico. I was just in Mexico recently, and I hadn't realized how popular 13 and 14 cameras is in Mexico. And it was funny because people kept coming up to me on the street. It was like really freaky. And they wouldn't say anything, but they'd come and put their arm around me and like set me up with their their partner or their wife, and then just snap pictures of me. It was the bizarrest thing, and scary, man. It was really scary. So anyhow, again, I just wanted to thank you guys for the great interview this year, and hopefully we'll see each other next year. And keep your eye out for my new film, The Block Island Sound. And best to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you to Neville, Gerald, and happy holidays to you as well. I mean, so generous. I literally texted the guy at 2 today. I mean, it's like 7, it's 9 now. And I mean, I was like, hey, do you want to say anything? And he sent me a video right back. I mean, what a generous...
It's the season of giving.
Such quick turnaround. It's almost like he was watching you all day and knew you were going to text him.
Oh, maybe he's got a camera in my house. Neville, next time we have you on the show, buddy, you got to come clean if you're surveilling us. But anyways, thank you so much, Neville. It was great talking to you. Listening audience, go check out the interview we did with Neville. It was really fun, and we hope to talk to him in 2020 as well.
So 2019 in review, what the hell can you say about it? It was a year of ups and downs, tosses and turns, tumbles, cinematically
spills,
and in general.
Thrills.
Spills, thrills, and some chills.
Just a lot of chills.
Yeah, I mean, before we get into the specific awards, I gotta say, this was a great year for me, at least horror-wise. I watched so many movies, and a lot of them were really good. I watched I saw some good new movies in the theater. I thought we generally watched some pretty good shit for Amon, and also went back into the vaults and discovered a lot of new stuff. This Halloween season was one of the most active I've ever had for watching horror movies.
Yeah, we had... Chris, unfortunately, was never able to participate, but...
Never willing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that was a choice.
All right. Well, I was trying to be nice. But we had, Patrick and I had talked for a while, into the late summer about doing like a weekly spooky movie night.
It was a dream. It was a dream that we made reality.
We made reality. We fucking did it. I mean, how many weeks did we do this for?
I think we started in mid-September, and we went to Halloween week. We skipped like 1 week, but every week we had spooky movie night. It was always a double feature.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, I mean, the biggest surprise of this is we have friends. We have friends who actually showed up and came over and watched movies with us.
And who like to watch
really cool.
horror movies, which seems especially difficult for me personally to find. I mean, I don't know. It seemed like you weren't even that much of a horror person at all before we started this podcast, and I've seen your growth.
I wasn't like in the horror community. I feel like I am now. I'm putting up air quotes when I say that. I feel like I'm a little more like quote unquote in the horror community now, where I'm a little more like genuinely obsessed. I always enjoyed horror movies, but I was never like obsession level with them.
It wasn't I think
your influence has slowly rubbed off on me.
Good.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm okay with that. But yeah, it was great. I mean, a great cast of characters that came to most of these with us, and it was a blast in watching,
Look at all our friends.
Old movies and new movies, discoveries, favorites that we want to share with others. It was an absolute blast.
Chris, what was your overall take on 2019?
I really did not watch as much horror stuff as usual outside of the show. This year kind of came in like a lion and out like a lamb in terms of, I remember it was front-loaded in the spring with a bunch of high-profile horror releases and horror hype, whether it be Us, whether it be Pet Sematary, all the stuff we talked about in our one episode, episode number 52, if you want to look that up as a kind of companion to this, where we kind of went off the rails and reviewed Us and Pet Sematary and the Twilight Zone reboot and all that stuff. And then, then the It sequel came out in the summer. People were jazzed about that. And then it was like, all right, we're done with horror for the year. And it kind of tapered off a bit.
Don't forget Midsummer.
Oh yeah,
you did
Midsummer,
not see,
which I haven't seen.
Big deal as well.
I'm curious about it, but
The Lighthouse.
I want to see The Lighthouse, but
The Lighthouse isn't horror though.
That's awards fodder.
It's pretty horror.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen it yet.
It's horrifying for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. But Steven, outside of movie nights, what's your take on 2020?
Just
Review mirror 2020 vision. 2020 vision on 2019. Right. That's what I meant.
Right. Sure, that's what you meant. It was a lot of horror for me this year. I mean, definitely more so than usual. I've been a lot more active in watching movies on my own. Of course, this was bolstered by watching movies with the Spook Group, as we called it at first, and then Spook Talk, influenced by the original Haunting of Hill House. I've read a lot of horror this year too, which I have hundreds of books, and I'm always
House on Haunted Hill is what you mean.
what?
House on Haunted Hill. Spook Talk.
Did I say Haunting of Hill House?
Yeah.
God damn it! The
I
titles
do
are
that
so
all the
similar.
time, too.
The original House on Haunted Hill. Yeah, I read a lot of stuff. I discovered a lot of new and older obscure horror writers this year. I've been keeping up with Fangoria. Literally, the first thing I've done, I can confidently say every single day this year, is open up Bloody Disgusting while I have my morning coffee and eat my breakfast and read the news.
And the second thing you do is send us the highlights.
Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. So yeah,
sometimes the second thing you do is say "fuck Patrick and Chris."
I don't know. Those are not mutually exclusive. I always think fuck Patrick and Chris, and sometimes I'm my heart softens enough to send you a little news update.
Aww.
JK.
You are a true Grinch.
It was a year of horror for me. More so than usual, which I feel like is saying a lot for me. But I decided this year I really need to start. I feel like I've lost myself a little bit. I really need to start leading into the things that I'm passionate about, that give me joy, that make me feel the urge to be creative. So,
well, speaking of leading into the things that matter, let's get to the awards. So our categories last year and this year as well are best horror movie, and that means the best horror movie that came out this year. So that could be N film that we watched on Netflix, or it could be a regular theatrical release. It has to be a movie that came out in 2019. So that's one category. The next is best horror discovery. The best horror thing that you learned about this year. It could be a movie. Last year, I picked a graphic novel creator, Junji Ito. Steven picked Fangoria last year. So it could be anything horror related that you discovered and enjoyed this year. Then there's your favorite Amon movie that we watched this year, your least favorite Amon movie, and most importantly, the Spirit of J Award. The character in an Amon movie that we watched who most embodied the spirit of Jay, the amazing Indian demon hunter from the film 1920 London, Fear Strikes Again, which we watched very early in the podcast. If you want to learn more about that, you can go back and listen to it. Or, for a quick refresher, you can just hear this original description of Jay from that episode. And then Jay shows up.
Cut to Jay.
In like the most badass intro shot of all time. A fucking camel, the silhouette of a camel walks across the screen in the foreground as Jay does like this typical like American like action movie badass stride out of the fucking forest.
Like 2 earrings, tan suit, open collar, like 4 necklaces.
Also, we should note this is the character who is a quote-unquote penniless shepherd, as we're told multiple times after
I
this.
just want to chime in
film.
and say briefly that I wasn't complaining about Jay. I should have made that clear. Jay is amazing.
Jay's amazing.
Which is
He's
bizarre
the
because
star.
in reviews from India, everyone shits on Jay, the actor who plays him. Like, they did not like, but I think, I don't know, there's something relatable. He's
great. He's just a natural star. He just has that
star.
like
beautiful. He has great charisma.
He's super charismatic.
Say what you want about the stylistic excess of Bollywood stuff, but like his intro and it's like the music's going crazy and it's like slow-mo, a bunch of cuts, crazy zooms on him like coming into the palace. Like hell yeah, it's like how you would walk out for WWE or something.
Like midnight blue backdrop and he's lit in this gold light. It's like a comic book. It's very comic booky.
Yeah.
Can I get a Hail Jay?
Hail
Jay.
Hail Jay, baby. All right, so let's get into it. Best horror movie of 2019. Does anybody want to volunteer?
I think you should volunteer.
Okay, sure. I have been volunteered. I have been volunteered as tribute.
Hit us with it.
Us. Us is hands down. I mean, it's my favorite movie of the year in general. I see a lot of movies in the theater, and it's my favorite movie that I've seen this year, period. It's spooky. It's well acted. It's beautifully shot. I've watched it. I saw it twice in theaters. Can't wait to see it again. It's funny. It's very, very political. It's extremely relevant to what's going on in our country politically right now. Just an incredible, incredible movie. Can't wait to see what Jordan Peele does next.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Jordan Peele does next because he's on record saying that he wants to make the scariest movie next. That neither Get Out nor Us were intending to be the scariest movie he could make.
Ooh.
And now he's trying to make the scariest movie.
I'm ready.
I mean, as funny as that movie is, that movie made me feel deeply unsettled for a couple of days afterward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I rewatched it with my little sister, and she was on the couch just saying, "Nope, nope, nope, nope," for probably half of that movie's runtime.
Yeah. I both times that I saw that movie, I walked out of the theater feeling physically just like winded. Like my knees almost felt a little shaky when I walked out, just because of not necessarily because it was scary, but just the kind of the character stuff that happened and the political implications. It was just sort of physically staggering to me. It was an incredible movie-going experience.
Well, I hate to agree with you like this, Patrick, but that's also my favorite movie, horror movie of the year, at least of what I've seen.
Yeah.
And really, again, like I said, I have not watched as much horror as I meant to this year. I really wanted to see Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I didn't.
I saw it. Not too great.
Well, I love the source material, which probably means I'll hate the movie. I really wanted to see Annabelle Comes Home. I didn't. There's a lot of horror.
The Nun?
The Nun didn't come out
No,
this
it
year.
wasn't this year.
Yeah.
What?
No, it's old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Maybe it came out on Blu-ray this year.
I did discover The
touch with
Nun
that.
this year.
Okay.
But then among the films that I saw that came out this year, either in the theater or on Netflix, Us is great. It's not perfect. I like Get Out more. Us kind of didn't hold up for me that much upon a rewatch, at least not as I expected it would. So that was a little disappointing, but hey, it was damn good.
Get Out is a great movie, but Us really just knocked me out even more.
I understand liking one more than the other.
Yeah.
But all I can say in my experience is Get Out only gets better the more I watch it, and I thought it was perfect to begin with. Us, I thought was pretty good, not quite as good as Get Out the first time, and the second time it kind of fell flat, and its flaws seemed to kind of stand out to me a bit more. But it's great. It's good. No complaints. I would be picking nits to say anything bad about Us. It's a great film. We need more films like it.
Steven, what is the best horror film, capital H, capital F, of 2019?
As much as I hate the concept of a remake, I gotta say the new Pet Sematary was really...
Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out.
He had me. You had me. He had me going.
I didn't believe him for a second.
He had me going.
Wow, we have...
Us.
Is this the first time that all three of us have agreed on anything?
Amon approved.
Yeah.
Have we
Put the
ever
seal on it.
unilaterally approved a thing?
Yes, but not like this. Not given the open canvas.
Wow.
I gotta say, there's
Making
not
history.
much more I can add to what makes Us great that you two haven't already said. I mean, I've seen it 5 times this year, so yeah, because it's a movie I was excited to see again alone, like with headphones on, but also I've wanted to show it to people who might not otherwise have seen it because it's marketed as a horror movie, and while it is, it's also, I think, a really great sort of political science fiction film too, and very much in the vein of the spirit of the Twilight Zone. I feel like Peele was more successful in communicating a story that fits in that realm better with this film than he was in his Twilight Zone reboot.
I watched 2 episodes of that and never anymore.
Yeah, I didn't either. After the first 2, I was like, oh god, this is empty.
It wasn't bad. It just didn't turn the dial, as Chris would say.
And, let me say something that might be controversial. The class politics in Us are extremely deliberate and conspicuous, and it's easy to receive the film on that level. I can also imagine someone being totally naive to that message watching this movie and still having a great experience and picking and responding to it thematically and emotionally on thematic levels that have nothing to do with class or politics.
I agree, and I think that's what makes a truly great fable. And I do feel like this is a modern fable.
It's not just like a polemic. It's like it's like who's the man in the mirror? That kind of stuff.
Yeah. I want to add though that 2019.
Good point, guys. Good job.
2019 is a very strange year for horror movies for me because there was a lot of stuff that was much hyped that either kind of failed to deliver for me, like Midsommar. I really didn't like, and it was like the movie I was looking forward to the most this year after Us. And then there's a lot of much hype stuff that just like never became available this year that was like on the festival circuit, or like it's got a distributor and it still hasn't come out. I mean, I can think of probably a dozen movies or more that I've like been dying to see this year. Titles like Lose, which is like this like, I think, French possession movie that looks really wild and got great reviews. Another example is Daniel Isn't Real, which it's just dumped on VOD. It's been getting amazing reviews. It was put out by Spectrovision, which is Elijah Wood and Daniel Noah's production company. And I would say it would never trump Us as my favorite film of 2019. I have 20 minutes left because I had to get here in the middle of watching it, but it's fucking great. And it just makes me wonder, how many of these movies I heard about this year are going to pop up in 2020. And I really wanted them this year. I feel like it wasn't a great year for new cinema for me, at least as far as horror goes.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed. I really did enjoy It Chapter 2. I loved Midsommar, which I just pronounced Midsummer. That's on my top 10 list of movies in general for this year. That movie blew my fucking socks off. It knocks Hereditary out of the water. I loved it. I can't wait to see it again. But I guess there weren't a lot of new horror movies that really knocked me out. Us, though, far and above everything else.
It's hard for me to reckon with the fact that movie came out this year. And that Get Out.
It was February.
Just came out last year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
Was it just last year?
Yeah.
No, it's been 2 years.
No, I think it was early 2018.
No, I think
2016.
it's been 2 years. It's been 2
Has been
years.
2 years.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
2016.
Yeah. 2017. Right.
2017. Yeah, sorry.
I'm sad we never did an episode or anything on Hereditary, because
the time has passed.
Yeah, we really... Listeners, paint yourself a picture. Picture Patrick and Steven and me in a dimly lit...
Did we see that together?
No. In a dimly lit watering hole. Underground. Very loud. Around a candle on the table. Just talking ad nauseum about Hereditary.
Did we really?
Yeah, we did.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, we were in Babs Underground.
Huh.
And I think we had already talked about it one-on-one with each other ad nauseum. And then we got together and talked about it ad nauseum.
You painted a very vivid picture of something that I do not remember experiencing.
Well,
Exactly.
The spirits were flowing.
there were
that
beverages involved, but
Yeah.
and it was like...
what happens at Babs
And I
stays
think
at
there were
Babs.
other people. I think there were other people with us that we were
that
like,
did not want to hear about Hereditary.
sorry, we're still talking about Hereditary. It's only been 2.5 hours. Just be a little more patient.
If only we had recorded that, it could be on our Patreon that we don't have.
Yeah, well, maybe someday. Anyway,
Yeah, maybe in 2019. All right. Anyways, on to the next category. Best
horror discovery.
horror discovery.
Steven, would you like to start?
It was hard for me to sort of grapple with this topic because I've discovered a ton of stuff this year, just like movies and books, but I didn't feel like any of it would be all that interesting to talk about because I'm just in the business of checking out shit that I've read about that sounds cool. But
what's the best, though? You got to give us the best.
The best.
Give us the good
so
stuff, baby.
So far, I've been getting back into reading a lot more lately, and I discovered apparently very popular author Paul Tremblay, horror novelist. I read 2 of his books in the past month, and they're the only 2 books I can think of. Well, 2 of the only books I can think of that I've read in one sitting in one day in like years. The Cabin at the End of the World and Head Full of Ghosts. I think those are his 2 most recent books.
Not to
Maybe
be
there's one in the
confused with
middle.
Jacob Tremblay.
Not to be confused with Jacob Tremblay, not related. Shout out to Jacob Tremblay. He's great.
God bless him. We
God
love him.
bless him. God bless him. Merry Christmas, Jacob Tremblay. And
God
Happy
bless
New
us,
Year.
everyone.
No, Paul Tremblay's just a really, he's kind of in the vein of a Stephen King, but a little bit nastier. He still has kind of a big heart.
He nasty.
Very versatile writer. I mean, Head Full of Ghosts is told through three kind of different perspectives of the same character, and it's really masterfully done. Cabin at the End of the World, if Michael were here, he could confirm that I read that while sitting on my bed while he was playing The Witcher all day on a Saturday, and my visceral verbal reactions to reading the book were such that he will never touch it. because
Wow.
it sounds so stressful.
Shit.
And it is, but it's amazing. I think it'll make a great movie. So I look forward to Paul Tremblay's got like 6 or 7 books out and a couple of short story collections. I've requested them all from the library. Look forward to reading more in 2020. So that's my horror discovery of the year.
I am all over that. Chris, do you have a horror discovery, or should I go?
You go first. I need to paint a picture with mine. So.
Oh, okay. Well, mine is going to be brief. I'm not going to paint a picture at all. Mine is a film that's on Shudder. I think Steven's going to back me up on this. One Cut of the Dead.
Yeah.
Actually, Steven recommended this to me. And, oh, God, it's so hard to talk about. You cannot talk about it. The most you can say is it is a zombie film done in one take. And that's all you can say about it. And yet, that sounds almost kind of dumb. And
the word zombie turns many people off, right off.
And I'm with you. And I'm with you when you say, okay, you're not selling me. Just trust me. Go watch the shit. It's going to blow your mind. It blew my mind. I was delighted by the end of this movie.
Blew my mind 2 or 3 times.
And for one of the spoop nights, which you weren't there for the spoop night, but I showed that movie to, 3 or 4 people, and they were all like, okay, I understand why you showed this to us. They were all on board with it as well. It's a delight. The less said about it, the better. Go check it out. Shudder costs, I don't know, what is it, $5? Get the 1 week trial of Shudder. Go watch it. It's 90 minutes.
Oh, listeners.
I can almost guarantee you're not going to regret it.
Listeners, and I'm dead serious about this. If you want to do the 1 week trial and you want to maximize that 1 week trial, I will personally curate a list of films for you.
Ooh, that's
you need
nice.
to watch.
I like that.
So send us a message.
But when it comes down to it, there are some people who will hear that ringing endorsement and not go and see the film. Let's now talk to one of those men. Chris.
Yeah, no.
What was your favorite horror discovery of 2019?
It's on my agenda, and you guys...
You have an agenda?
Well, it's on my agenda of shit to watch. Yeah, do you
have a platform?
I'm going to be watching this, but only because I respect you guys enough that when you are both so adamantly enthusiastic about a movie, I am very curious to see it, especially when you refuse to talk about it.
When the planets align enough for us both to agree on something,
because otherwise you're right.
It's something special.
I tune out when I hear zombie movie.
I do too.
I also tune out when I hear gimmick one take cinematography because I hate both those things. But I'm very interested in this.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my favorite horror discovery is a little more personal. Let me paint you a picture.
Ooh.
It's Halloween night, and I didn't have a great Halloween this year.
I know what this is going to be, and I'm so excited because I haven't heard too many details on this, and I'm looking forward to hearing more.
So I didn't have a great Halloween this year. I had some personal stuff going on that occupied me for pretty much all of Halloween and into the evening, and I didn't really have any thing to do, and it's kind of a disappointment you're waiting for Halloween all year, and then it kind of comes and goes, and you didn't really get to enjoy
I slept on Halloween. It was fucking snowing.
Yeah. So I finally get home, and it's 10:30 at night. I'm like, well, Halloween's busted. And I'm home, and I see on Facebook that there is a acting studio close to my apartment, which I've been aware of only vaguely. And they are saying, come on in. We have Slasher City tonight. We have a haunted house tonight. How much was it? I don't know. I think it was $15 or something. I don't know.
Hell yes.
There's no line right now. Come on down.
And this is less than a block from your house, right?
Well, I wasn't going to be
this
that specific.
This sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah. But it's extremely close to my house. And I'm like, well, shit. I'm just going to walk down there and check it out. And so I walk down there. I see the little sign on the door. All you see is the street door. It's on the 3rd floor of this building. There's just a huge one stairway going all the way up to the top of the building.
Wow. Not
ADA accessible at all. And there's a little piece of paper taped to the door that's
Dana from Nails would not have done well at this haunted house.
There's a little piece of paper taped to the door that's welcome to Slasher City. Be warned that this attraction features blood, scenes of violence, gunshots, screaming, smoke. And I'm like, fuck yes,
sign me up.
So I go up there, and I was the only person there, and they were about to wind down, and I'm like, yeah, let me go through the haunted house. And so I went through this little, like, I mean, it was like mostly like teenagers or like young college students putting this thing on. And it was just a little corridor haunted house, and I was escorted by an actress through the whole thing.
Escorted by an actress
For the most part.
In the tabloids?
And it took me through like unlicensed recreations of Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and Halloween.
I like that you
fucking dope.
I like that you specify that it was unlicensed recreation.
Well, yeah, it was a little sketchy, but it was fun. I mean, it wasn't super scary, you know, not really, but it was very creative and fun and just a great way to spend Halloween. You know, it started off with like a recreation of the first scene of Scream, where the girl who was like escorting me through the thing like got a phone call, and then like the lights came up and there was someone like tied to a lawn chair, and then Ghostface came out and stabbed her, and then there was a part where I get taken into a very good looking set that was small, and they're like, oh, here, she's like, hi, stay here, I'll be right back, sit down on the bed, don't move, whatever you do, like just don't get off the bed, wait for me. And so like she leaves, and like I'm looking around, and like it's a very well dressed little set of a little bedroom, and I'm sitting on the bed, and then like the Nightmare on Elm Street theme starts playing. I'm like, oh god,
this sounds so fucking cool. And
What
you were there by
happened?
yourself?
yeah. Well, like the lights went off, and like there was like a haze effect in the room, and like it was like I was falling asleep on Elm Street, and like there was some knocking from under the bed, and then eventually, a Freddy actor showed up who wasn't, it wasn't Robert Englund, okay? And also,
damn.
the thing with haunted houses is, you know that for the most part, like, they're not going to touch you. They're not going to do anything. It's nothing really scary about it. They can startle you maybe, but they didn't really startle me.
Just foreplay.
They were just kind of creepy. And like there was another thing where like they had like two Freddy actors, so they tried to play some games with that. Like the one stood in front of me, and then like another one stood behind him, and they like tried to look like they had 4 arms. And I was like, I appreciate the effort. But the weird thing is, it's just me. I'm sitting there like kind of like I feel like a creeper because I just came in by myself, and I'm sitting through this thing, and like I'm like, I don't want to just sit there and stare at them and not give them any feedback because they're trying to like scare me ostensibly. But I'm also not scared, so I'm not actually like screaming. So like Freddy's menacing me, and I'm like literally just going, it was very awkward. I'm going, ah.
I love that you were trying to like perform fright for them.
Trying to perform for the actors.
It would seem so wrong and not fun for anybody just for me to be watching this with a flat face on. I'm like, ah!
Oh my god, I want video of this.
They probably thought I was a complete freak, but no, it was really special. It saved my Halloween. God bless them. All those little kids doing great work.
I wish that we could go there next year, but I feel like it absolutely will never happen again, which makes it even more beautiful. Mm-hmm. So
there's a lot of spooky stuff like that in Monroe, just like weird shit that happens in the dark of night, and like the back rooms of thrift stores. And things.
yeah. We went to that. Yeah.
That's first. I was going to ask you if it was in that building.
No.
Where is it?
No, it's a few doors down in like a 3rd floor loft.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Wow.
really fun.
Great story.
Well,
Man.
a great set of horror discoveries, I would say. We had a good field this year. But it's time to move on to the best film that we've watched for this podcast this year. Christopher,
Yeah.
what was your pick?
All right. Well, look, my boring pick would be Insidious, but I'm on record saying I love Insidious, and we watched it. It's my favorite of the movies that we've watched for the podcast this year. But the other pick I'm going to make, which is probably equally boring and predictable, is Creep 2. It was my favorite movie that we saw, not just because I thought it was a high quality movie. There were other movies I liked that I thought were good, like Under the Shadow, etc. But Creep 2 really exemplifies the mission of this podcast to me. And I think I said this before.
Yeah.
It's like a movie I would have never watched otherwise, except for I had to on this podcast. And it really felt like a discovery and something that I can wholeheartedly recommend to people, and something that surprised me, and just a real diamond in the rough. So, great. Creep 2, best Amon movie of 2019 for me.
Amen.
Well,
Can I just... Well... Mine's Creep 2. So I feel like I should just piggyback on that because I assume you picked a different movie.
I did actually, although I will say, let's see, Creep 2 was on my short list. It was. I had 5 movies I was thinking about picking for this, and Creep 2 is definitely on there. I had a great time with that. I kind of want to, 5. I kind of want to rewatch it again. I also had Insidious on the short list, but like you, I was like, that's too obvious. I'm going to throw it off.
It feels like cheating.
I was trying to go second because I kind of just wanted to bury my pick because I never want to talk about this ever again. But
yeah,
my favorite was The Perfection.
Yeah.
I loved it. Allison with Hawaii and I got up, ran around the house, and just screamed, "Holy fuck, what was that?" after we finished watching it. And I loved the discussion we had about it and the many viewpoints we heard about from listeners as well, and how we got deeper into some of the problematic themes of it. And there are problems with The Perfection, but holy shit, I had an amazing experience with that movie, and I can't pick anything else over it. So The Perfection is my favorite Amon movie of 2019.
I'll respect that opinion. I'm literally never going to talk about The Perfection again in my life. It brings me physical discomfort to try. So. And I mean, you say that just like for clarity, we say that mostly just because we talked about it too fucking much. Like not just
three
on
of
the
us
show.
talked about it too much.
Movie,
and we had legitimate fights about it too.
We did. That's true. Yeah, like off cast, you and I nearly came to blows.
Yeah,
online. Like however that works.
In the way we're like
blue thumb back and forth.
It's like in the way
just thumb punching each other.
In the way you hear the legendary like Ebert and Siskel just like actually getting under each other's skin about something and being disgruntled about it for days. That's what happens.
Absolutely. So on that note, let's stop talking about it.
Yeah, we should.
But I mean, also great set of picks, guys. I want to watch Creep 2 again now because of that, and I'm sure neither of you wants to watch The Perfection again.
Did Steven have more to say about Creep 2?
Yeah, geez, Patrick.
Oh, sorry,
rude.
Didn't mean to step on your peach fuzz mask.
I actually don't have anything more to say about Creep 2 that Chris didn't say. But I do want to say, like, when I looked back at this year of Amon, it was kind of depressing for me. Like, I was like, God damn, like, especially the originals that we watched, like Bird Box, Velvet Buzzsaw. Yeah.
Velvet Buzzsaw was on my short list. I loved Velvet Buzzsaw.
I thought these are just like fucking like lurid, trashy movies.
We watched Christine this year.
Yeah, I've seen Christine before. That doesn't even count for me. That's like not even in the running for best movie because that's a movie.
No, I'm
just
saying like we watched some good movies for this podcast.
A couple,
this year.
2, 3, maybe for me.
On my list, when I was looking through the list of shit we'd watched,
I'm telling you about my list now.
We're having a goddamn conversation. This is not a monologue.
No, I agree.
Steven.
It was hard for me to pick. I feel like this was a weak year for Amon movies. At least it was a less interesting year. Maybe I don't know.
We also watched fewer movies than last year. Right? Because we've been doing the every other
we didn't
week
watch
thing.
10 Halloween movies, so.
That's true.
Anyway.
That definitely inflated the numbers for that year. But yeah, I looked at it and was just like, oh, God, Corbin Nash? Really? Cirque du Freak? What the fuck is this? What is my life?
Personally, I felt like we had a good year. I went back over the list and I was like, oh yeah, we watched some good shit.
We had a good year, but the movies for me were just, it was revolting for me to run down that list.
If I had to put my finger on it, and this is kind of just me talking shit without looking at the list again, but I feel like this year we watched more movies that just had like a banality to them, like movies that were almost like commercial or maybe were theatrical releases or had A-list casts like Sandra Bullock that were just kind of heartless. And compared
like Sandra Bullock,
compared to even watching like American Poltergeist and stuff, where it's like
that's always my point of reference.
Yeah, but
for
it's
this
like American Poltergeist is like free spinning people just fucking making a movie.
It's
and so
not made by an algorithm, right?
Yes.
Which a lot of this Netflix original stuff, like even if it is quirky and weird, it feels like it's a calculated quirkiness that I don't find appealing. And it's been a year of like much hype movies that are really, I think, except for Bird Box. Well, I don't know. Was Velvet Buzzsaw actually made by Netflix? Probably. It just felt like the Netflix horror, like original horror output this year has been like Aimed to divide.
That said, there's a lot of original Netflix horror that we didn't watch this year.
We didn't watch the Apostle. Was that this year? Or was that last year?
I don't know. Apostle came out. There's always something.
Two of my favorite horror movies of this year and two of my favorite movies overall this year were Netflix originals, Velvet Buzzsaw and The Perfection. So,
all right.
Different strokes for different folks.
What about...
On to, since we're talking about shitty movies,
Yeah.
What was our worst Amon movie we watched this year?
Can I go first?
Steven, yes.
Creep.
Oh! Wow. I mean, I agree. I didn't like Creep, but I did not think you were going to go for that as the absolute
I can't even
worst.
articulate it because it's been so long, but when I thought about Creep 2, it was going to be Under the Shadow, but I was like, that's like a...
Under the Shadow?
In the Shadow of the Moon. You mean.
What? No. I mean for my
favorite
best
movie.
pick.
Yeah.
I was gonna pick Under the Shadow. I was like, I mean, I would recommend it, but it wouldn't be like if you want to have like fun and watch a horror movie, watch Creep 2. Like that's a blast. Under the Shadow is prestige and it's good, but I'm never gonna revisit it. Like, let's be honest. I really enjoyed it, especially in the context of this show. If Creep 2 is like my favorite like Netflix movie / Netflix discovery of this year, surprise of this year, it's because Creep sucked so much. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
That did help. It
Creep
helped.
2 just like redeems the sins of the father in so many ways. Like, it is just like a navel gazing slog to get through the first Creep.
Didn't like it. Right there with you.
It thinks it's hilarious and provocative, and it winds up just having kind of a smarmy, broy, it just smells like a frat house to me, this movie. It was awful. I hated it. And we've watched some terrible movies, but I think like with the benefit of having seen Creep 2, I can now look back and say that Creep is actually probably the worst movie from Netflix that I've seen this year.
Wow.
I also
Corbin Nash
disliked
is
it.
in the running here.
I also disliked it. Did we all give that Screw It?
I
Creep?
think so.
Probably.
Yeah. But I did not dislike it that much. I have this weird admiration right now for that pick.
It's interesting. So, like, I don't know. Is it really, like, the worst experience I had watching a movie on Netflix this year? No, it's not. But it's a movie that, like, I thought was incredibly flawed and annoying, and it became even more so in my memory after seeing how great Creep 2 was.
Allison with a Y gave it a view it.
Oh, yes. I thought she was on our episode about it because she is actually the one who recommended that movie to me long before we had this podcast in the first place.
But
Yeah.
I remember that.
all screwed it.
I've been trying to get her to watch Creep 2. She has not yet. But I think that'll be my New Year's resolution is get Allison with a Y to watch Creep 2.
You're not going to, like, take up smoking or start drinking more like most people do for their New Year's resolution.
No,
You're gonna have to watch Creep.
I have enough vices already.
I'm just kidding.
So, I mean, because I guess I'll go
going
next, unless Chris is really itching to. Because this movie has already been mentioned multiple times, Corbin Nash is by far the worst shit we watched this year.
Putrid.
Fuck that movie. Holy fucking
I just
shit.
called it a film in the same breath as Putrid.
You hear that, producer on Instagram?
Yeah, the producer of Corbin Nash, listened to our episode, and it's still hard to tell if he was trolling or, trying to pick out the things that we did like about the movie, but he tagged us on Instagram, and
he called us haters, and it's unclear.
But he also picked out one of the quotes where Allison with an I was talking about how great what Corey Feldman was.
Yeah, so it's unclear if he was actually pissed off or if he was just trolling us to get trolled back or whatever.
Don't think he cared.
We do invite that kind of
whatever.
behavior.
Yeah, I mean, if producer Corbin Nash is listening, no hard feelings. I mean, often producers and directors are the most aware people of their movie's shortcomings, and
Hey, I mean,
we're not here
glad that we're that the cast has gotten big enough for the producer of this film to actually be listening to the whole fucking episode and give a shit. I mean,
yeah, because that was a big movie. I mean, that was Hollywood.
A big one. Yeah,
talking Hollywood. If we got their ear, we can do anything.
Man, we got the Corbin Nash bump, baby. But god damn it, that movie, just toxic masculinity personified. Corey Feldman's bullshit pissed me off. Ugh. Just no. Chris,
Maybe recency bias is coming into play here, but the worst Amon movie I've watched this year is Nails.
Wow. Right.
knew
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah. Because you had said that was the worst movie we watched for the entire podcast.
Yeah. I would say maybe there are worse movies out there, but at least I find something to like about
Like worse
them.
movies have been made in the history of cinema, is what you're saying. Possibly.
Or for this show. I mean, there's been some real bad ones that we've seen, but at least I'm like, oh, they don't give me as miserable of an experience as I had personally watching Nails, where I just literally was about to put nails into my eyeballs and just wanted to stop watching this movie. Yeah, so, I mean... anything more I have to say about what I said last episode?
Yeah.
Nails. I hated it.
Wow.
Maybe it's just because it's so fresh and burning in my mind right now, but I gotta say the worst one was Nails. God bless everyone who made it. Don't at me.
God bless. Bless, bless, God bless. All right, well, let's move on from this land of negativity to, the ethos that really motivates us all and that animates this entire podcast, the spirit of Jay. And again, Jay, the amazing exorcist from 1920 London, Fear Strikes Again. Go listen to that episode. Find out who Jay is. If you've listened and you don't understand the meme at this point.
We got some viewer comments about 1920 London.
Did we?
Yeah. Someone
yes.
sent us some tweets.
What'd they say?
Love a good tweet.
No, we got some direct messages on Twitter from a listener who
They slid into the DMs.
And he's from India, and he said that he was listening to the 1920 London podcast, and he didn't have a high opinion of 1920 London. He said it's a cash grab. It thinks it's a serious movie. It's nothing is tongue in cheek. That India doesn't have good horror movies, etc.
Wow.
We talked a little bit about how some of the stuff that you see in 1920 that we associate with Jay or anything else, does have some lineage in Hindu tradition, etc. The mantras are a real thing, obviously, cleansing people like that. He said older generations of Indians especially can be superstitious people with the kind of stuff you see in these movies. Anyway, so it was just interesting, and he did offer to answer any questions we have on future Indian movies. So
good. So we've got a Bollywood horror expert. If we
can go into the next one with much less ignorance. Perhaps.
Excellent. We should ask him about Boothnath. We should ask him how he feels about last year's Spirit of Jay award winner, Mr. Banku.
Yeah.
And I don't, guys, listeners, go back and listen to last year's end of year episode. I kind of dropped a surprise that even surprised me, how much it surprised you guys, that I picked Mr. Banku for Spirit of Jay award last year. I don't think we're going to reach that level this year, but let's see. Who wants to go first? Who has the candidate for the character in an Amon movie who most represented the memorable spirit of Jay? Steven, what is your pick?
Christine, easily.
I had Christine on my short list.
No way around it. Christine, man, she's a badass.
Hell yeah.
She's a badass. Look at that grill. She's ready to kill. Great.
What would happen if you paired up Mr. Banku and Christine?
Mr. Banku and Christine? I mean...
There'd be a song.
Oh, yes.
There'd definitely be a song, but it would be in like a kind of like, the dial on the radio would turn to the left and to the right, and it would glow, and it would be in kind of like a 50s sort of doo-wop style.
It comes to life. The seat like reclines, and it's like the I'm trying to remember that song in Boothnath, or while it's like, this is how we do it.
Oh, I know which one you mean, though. Was that the soccer song? The one where they're on the soccer
No,
field?
that's something else. Anyway.
All right. Well, anyway, yeah, Christine, I mean, to listeners who don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, Christine is the car from the iconic adaptation of the Stephen King novel directed by John Carpenter. And it is just like, I mean, this car it's an icon. It's a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
Nothing really more to be said about that. I mean, I think it speaks to my lack of connection to human characters in most of the films we've seen this year, but also to the lack of just like kind of suaveness and coolness in many of the films that we've seen this year. I was hard pressed to find anything closer to the Spirit of Jay than good old Christine. Who's going next?
Respect.
I'll go next. You guys are gonna hate me though. I will give the Spirit of Jay award to Corbin Nash.
Oh, you know what? You know what? That was my number 2. I thought about doing it. I could have made the argument.
What?
Not joking.
I mean, look, Corbin Nash, the character, embodies the spirit of Jay in that he is just the supernatural ass kicker. And, imagine Jay, but instead of knowing mantras, he knows MMA. And instead of chasing lemons, he punches drywall. No. And you got Corbin Nash. I don't know what to say.
MMA, which stands for
Mixed martial arts.
Muscular mantra action.
Yeah.
But do you want to see him again? I mean, I think that almost defines the spirit of Jay as much as anything else. Like, that you want to see more of this character. Do you want to see more of Corbin Nash?
I think I'm on record on the Corbin Nash episode saying that this is a good prologue for a good Corbin Nash movie, which is actually how it was produced, if you remember.
Yeah, that's true. I remember this.
They actually had a story, and they were like, well,
Nash.
we can't make that story, so let's make this shitty prologue.
And you want to see more of that character?
I don't know if I want to see more of it.
I want to see more of the Corbin Nash cinematic universe.
Corbin Nash is getting a lot of, like, I feel like that might have been the most polarizing movie we've seen this year. Because we've said Corbin Nash at least 12 times in the last, 15 minutes, even before Chris gave his pick.
And I mean, think about Jay and his introduction and the slow-mo and, the smoke and the wardrobe. And that's Corbin Nash.
Wardrobe.
Corbin Nash is the kind of guy who's going to come out of a car in slow motion wearing a leather jacket and a gold chain and a tattoo that has his own name on it.
I'm having the same reaction to this that you guys had to Mr. Bonku last year. So good job, Chris.
All right.
I'm delighted.
What's your pick?
My pick, I really deliberated over this. I had 5 different possibilities for this. Christine was one of them, as I mentioned. Another runner-up was Farouk Koja from Dabe, The Possession.
Yeah, Farouk Koja or whatever. Yeah, he's the spirit of Jay.
Are you changing your pick?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I feel extra good about my pick because someone else has picked Farouk Koja.
And it feels a little superficial to be like, oh yes, what about the other Asian cleanser mystical guy?
Yeah,
but no, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's this he shows up, he does an exorcism.
I mean, the only disqualifying factor for him is that mostly I love him for that one insane scene where he goes out to the toilet in the backyard.
The toilet!
Yes! And breaks open the toilet and is just pulling cow intestines and a cow head and all this just horrifying shit out of the toilet while these women are screaming and wailing. And it's one of the most insane and brilliant scenes I've seen this year.
He plays everything with such sincerity.
Yeah.
I
guess the disqualifier for me was that I felt like I was judging the character mostly just on that scene, and I wasn't sure how compelled I was by him overall. To cut to the chase, my pick, and this is, I apologize, Steven is going to ostracize you a little bit because you didn't see this, but Zombie Bunny Jesus from Holidays.
Oh,
I saw the picture.
You have to see the segment. You should watch the segment at some point because you gotta see it. Just a horrifying creature that I was utterly compelled by, and I'm sorry, but I want to see more of Zombie Bunny Jesus. I want to see the franchise.
I need to finally, the holidays, as we refer to them, are coming up. I did promise I would watch Holidays and report back to you guys. I think I'll try and do that before the next episode.
Sweet. I actually meant to watch Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, which I missed that episode, and I never did.
If you're thinking of watching Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, don't.
You know what? I do have to take a side on the raisin head creature debate. I thought the creatures are cute. At least I saw pictures of them online, and I think they're cute.
No, they're adorable. They're adorable. The Krites, the Ghoulies, the Munchies.
Yeah.
The Gremlins, the Mogwai.
Well, guys, that's all our awards. I mean, do you guys have anything else that you want to hand out awards for, or any honorable mentions, or any final thoughts on the year 2019?
No.
Nope, glad it's over. On to 2020.
On to 2020. No looking back. On to a new decade. Well, thank you all so much for listening to this episode. As usual, we want to encourage you to go to our website, everyhorrormovieonnetflix.com, hit the merch store link and go buy our t-shirt. We receive, as we described it once, either a handsome commission or a pittance for each shirt that's sold. In any case, it's good advertising for us.
It's more than t-shirts, and in fact, I think the site is like kind of counterintuitive. I really wanted a baseball tee, the 3/4 sleeve with a solid color around that. You actually have to kind of like go down to the bottom of the screen to find this.
Right.
But you can get the design, Patrick's beautiful design, on pretty much anything you want. You can get it on like a coffee mug. You can get a sticker. You can get condoms. You can get dental dams. With
all the
logo on
important
them.
stuff.
Stadium
I
seats.
didn't know we were in that industry.
Dildo. No, but there's a lot of it's like cool stuff. Pretty much like anything practical, tote bag, whatever. You can get the design on it. It looks sweet. I've seen the shirt in person. I've got to buy one myself. It looks great. You can choose any color you want.
Yeah, every horror movie on Netflix.com. Hit the merch store link. Follow us on social media. We'd love to talk to you. Hit us up. Let us know what you think of the show. And also, before we wrap this show, guys, we have an important announcement that we have not yet shared with the listening audience. And this is a little more relevant to the audience in the Metro Detroit area, which is where we're based. But in 2020, this is our big announcement for 2020. We are going to have a booth at the Motor City Nightmares Horror Convention.
You may remember our live coverage of Motor City Nightmares this past year, where we interviewed random drunk fans and we interviewed Dee Wallace.
Yeah, it was a beautiful experience, and we're hoping to do something weird and wild along those lines, broadcasting from the convention this year.
Wall-to-wall coverage, maybe live coverage.
We
get some Wi-Fi. We could do some live coverage.
And there's going to be lots of quote-unquote celebrity guests there, and we're hoping to start doing the groundwork soon and setting up some interviews, making some connections. I know Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp will be there.
That's about all.
Cheryl Lee from Twin Peaks will be there.
Nick Stahl.
Yes, all kinds of exciting folks.
Originally from, wasn't he the guy who they started shooting Back to the Future with, and then they cut him out?
No idea.
I think it was. Anyway.
But I mean, long story short, this is tremendously exciting for us. We've never done something like this before, and it's a big step for us. We're excited for it, and hoping to maybe make some new friends and get some new followers of the podcast while we're out there. So if you're
I'm gonna have a little kissing booth, and if wherever you are in the world, if you want to fly out to Detroit, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. And by a pretty penny, I mean it's going to cost you a lot of money to kiss me. But if you'd like to, if you want to touch my beard, come on down, just cross my palms of silver. He's a high-class hoe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, don't be coming up with $5 expecting a smooch from Steven. Come in with the cheddar. The cheddar. But yeah, Motor City Nightmares, that's in April. I don't remember the dates. But, if you're in Detroit, or, this is the test of your Amon fanship. Are you prepared to get on a plane and come see us at the Motor City Nightmares convention? If you are, let us know, because we might decide not to do that. Are we prepared to meet anyone who's crazy enough to get on a plane and come to Detroit? I don't know. This may be the greatest horror of 2020. Low carbon footprints only. You gotta walk. Anyways, we are looking forward to maybe seeing you guys at Motor City Nightmares in 2020, certainly broadcasting to you from Motor City Nightmares in 2020, and in any case, continuing to bring you every horror movie on Netflix every other week, like we usually do. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for joining us this episode and every episode throughout 2019. We love you. Happy New Year. For every horror movie on Netflix. Would you like to know what movie we're watching to start 2020? Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Goddamn. That was such a beautiful outro. I forgot. Oh, we can keep it. Chris, what's our first movie for 2020? Oh, I've been torn in so many different directions. Wait, should we set that up better? Or? I've been torn in so many different directions trying to pick this one. But I'll cut to the chase. I think my final answer is The Haunting of Molly Hartley. Never heard of it. Doesn't ring a bell. I mean, just look at this. We got high school girls. That's a big. We got a possession. We got people being bitchy to each other in a high school setting. We've got the Haunting of Hill. We've got the Haunting of Hill House font. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. So next episode in 2020, we will be talking The Haunting of Molly Hartley. Can't wait. Can't wait to
talk about some bitchy high school girls with
Sick.
Chris. All right, y'all. Happy 2020. For every horror movie on Netflix, I'm Patrick.
I'm Steven.
I'm Chris.
And go drink a cup of Auld Lang Syne for
Cup
us.
of kindness.
Happy New Year.